Hey guys, what's up? It's Jaxx. I just want to talk about something that been kind of bothering me for a little bit. I've been doing my GreedFall Let's Play series. I took a break from that because I wanted to think about something. Now the problem with GreedFall is that it has a lot of issues. It was made by a small team with a low budget, but they tried to do the best they can. It looks like they put in a lot more effort. I actually played for a little bit their game, Technomancer, but it kind of sucks, so I stopped playing. So I never really finished that title. The thing with GreedFall is that I was playing the game until I got to a certain point where I had to talk to the Council of Chiefs, and my game bugged out. And it was such a game-breaking bug that I couldn't continue. But what I want to talk about are GreedFall's characters, and I thought the best way to compare it was to compare it to basically Mass Effect's characters. Everyone's saying that GreedFall's basically, like BioWare Light or what I call a Diet BioWare. And like, why GreedFall's characters feel like cardboard and the old BioWare characters don't. Like I've been playing, like GreedFall, and despite its many issues, I think there are good things about the game. But I just find that the main killer of the whole story element is its characters, and the most important thing, or the most important characters in the game, are its companions. And when you look at GreedFall and its characters, they're extremely one-note, in my opinion, and their personal loyalty quests or their personal side quests. In my opinion, they're just an excuse to get more EX, like more experience points and loot and stuff or whatever, because they don't really like add anything to the game itself, and they only add little to like no character development in terms of your companions. Like it's like each character is one note in the fact that they are loyal to their faction. And aside from a few bits of dialogue you get, periodically throughout the game, like if you have Ciora with you when you visit the natives, you might learn 2 lines of dialogue about the natives, but aside from that, you don't really need to talk to them. Like, if you look at Kurt, your first companion, you get, when you get him, he's proud of the coin guard, and he's like, whatever, a hired gun, whatever. And, if you talk to him throughout the game, or when his side mission pops up and you ask him questions, you kind of get the fact that he had a rough life. But they don't really elaborate on that per se. And when you look at every other companion in the game, they're more or less the same thing. They're very much in the way of like cardboard cutouts. They have nothing to say about themselves. There's basically no reason to talk to them. Basically, you just use them to get more EXP. That's it. If we look at BioWare, by comparison, what the game seems to be inspired by, if you look at a character, let's say Tali. Tali was my favorite character in Mass Effect because of her voice actor's delivery and what they did with the character. Now, just to give it, like, Tali's character in a nutshell, is she comes from a race of aliens that have been reduced to basically galactic gypsies. You find that some people, distrust them, look down on them, see them as thieves, which was what you see in Mass Effect 2 when it came to the Volus, or not Mass Effect 2, was Tali? I forget. Yeah. But basically, it was with that Volus who's being a racist towards that Quarian. And basically, they're kind of seen as like lowlives in a way, based on how they live their lives in their nature. And the fleet also stays away from certain systems or planets, because the planet's like, no, get your ass out of here. And basically, the way the Quarians live is that they live on rundown spaceships that are either hundreds of years old, or they basically take junk from the junkyard and they fix it up and hold it together with their Korean duct tape, whatever. And so a case could be made of prejudice and racism as how Koreans, the many trials that Koreans have to live with while having to live and maintain these broken down ships. That is full of hardship in their people. In fact, in Tali's own words, the Koreans have a strong sense of community and family, and it's like the duty of every Korean to help their fellow man, I guess you can say, or help better their community by bringing them knowledge, technology, or something on their pilgrimage when they come of age, which is when they leave the nest and explore and bring something back of value. And so it like Tali even explains about the war with the Geth, how the Koreans lost their homeworld by waging war with a robotic race called the Geth, which is what the Koreans actually created the Geth, so they created their own problem. And there's so much history there that Tali tells you, that the universe or the lore of the world tells you, that other characters mention, and there's so much to say, so much to learn. And the fact that it's Tali telling you these things, you learn like from her perspective what she feels about her people, their government and stuff like that. And they also have to live in these suits, these environmental suits, because their immune system is so weakened that if they leave it, they will die. So there's all these layers of interesting things to learn about the Koreans, how that you just don't get with GreedFall. There's so much information given the shepherd to us, and it's not really a textbook encyclopedic thing, but if you look at the codex, you can learn more in detail about the Koreans or Garrus or the Turians, the Turians. Like, you can learn so much if that's what you want to do. But the main thing in GreedFall that I don't like is that if you look at Seora, for instance, you could say that Seora and Tali both have a prejudice problem where people are mistrusting of the natives, which is the faction that Seora belongs to. Not only people, they're not really mistrusting, but they see them as savages. And you would think that Seora would have something interesting to say about her own people, but aside from asking her over and over who her father is, there's not much she's willing to tell you. And it's not like you learn nothing about the natives, but it's like she doesn't tell you about herself in any way, or how she views her own people, or you get it from her perspective, which might be biased, or it's just that when you see these characters, whether it be Vasco, whose whole thing is, yeah, I'm a sailor, and that's it. That there's nothing more to me. I just like sailing ships. And like Vasco never tells you about, oh, one time I was caught in a storm. He says in one point, if you ask him about his tattoos after you finish his last, I think, side mission, he's like, no, I'm gonna take the loyalty pledge, whatever quest. And he explains that his tattoos tell a different story. I would like to hear those stories from Vasco's own mouth. Like, what is life like for a Naut? Their life is the sea, but what does that entail? We never know. And because of this lack of connection or personality, we don't really care about these characters. So when something bad happens to them, or we're doing their loyalty mission, we're not invested because we don't care about them. If you look at Grunt from Mass Effect 2, his whole thing is he's a genetically enhanced Krogan, bred from a petri dish, and he's like the ultimate, or the advancement of his species. He's stronger, tougher, whatever, and he's basically a roided out teenager by by Krogan standards, who's vastly different from Rex from the previous game, who was this old and tired Krogan who was tired of his people's shit. Where he's a regular Krogan, he likes to fight, he likes to do all the normal Krogan stuff, but he personally believes that the only way for his people to survive and become better is to stop being a bunch of mercenary assholes and actually work to help their people. We need I think Rex even mentions how his people need hospitals, they need schools, what did Rex say? If you were to ask a Krogan whether he'd want to cure the genophage or fight for credits, he'd rather fight for credits. So you see that Rex, he's old, he's battle scarred, and he has a strong opinion of his people, and he's kind of given up hope. And when you're on Vermeer and you're given, or he believes he has a chance to cure his people, he's like, this is it, this could change everything, and whether or not you kill him or convince him or whatever, that's up to you. But the fact is, we see his values, we see who he is, and like he's also interesting because when you look at Grunt's like the opposite. Grunt loves to fight. Grunt, he takes the greatest joy and pleasure from just killing things, killing everything in his way, because his thing is he's strong and he's superior, so he's arrogant, and his whole thing is vastly different. Each character, aside from a few, like Jacob, I hate Jacob, they all have their own goals, their own values, their own desires, their own hardships and sacrifices, their own guilt. Like and when you look at Tali, for instance, when the first game was this naive Quarian on her pilgrimage, this young lady, you see her in Mass Effect 2 take on more responsibility, and she's like a leader, so to speak. She's basically grown, and you can tell from the writing and how she is. She's more outspoken, she's more take charge, and in the third game, she's actually an admiral, I believe, and she says herself, well, that's just political. It's like, nah, you earned it, Tali, whatever. So you again, these characters grow, they change, they evolve, if even a little bit. Even Grunt, when you find Grunt in the third game, he's the leader of a squadron, and and he learns how important it is to have a clan, like a community, so when you learn so much, again, I just want to make a distinction. It's not that we want a big info dump on these characters, like reading their file, their biography. What GreedFall should really work on is, if it's going to be a story game with light combat elements, which the combat's pretty solid. It's it's simple. It's not really that complicated. But if this studio wants to make more games like this, they have to work on their writing. They have to, if they're going for BioWare magic, they have to sit down and really work on not just fleshing out the world, but fleshing out its characters. If you look at Kurt, there's nothing to learn. If you look at Afra, that Bridge Alliance character, she just loves the science. And I mean, you can talk to her for a little bit to learn, oh, where'd you grow up? Oh, I grew up here. Do you miss your family? No, this is where I'm meant to be. Oh. Is anything else on your mind? And no? Oh, okay. So, and just to bring it back to Siora, you would think that as a native, she would again have a lot to say, or a lot of advantage of having you in your party all the time. But no, there's very little to no purpose for a character to interact with the natives, because you can solve it on your own. All it does is add a few extra lines. But I don't want to talk in circles here, but even when you learn about a new race or in each Mass Effect game, there is a codex that explains, oh, this is how this gun works. It fires little sand particles, and then, oh no, they changed it to ammo rounds. Oh no, now here's how your here's how your Omni tool works. Here's how Mass Effect drives work. Oh, here's the Quarians. Yeah, they actually their plates actually metal, but it's really just to help from their sun's radiation. You know, there's like just a bunch of cool stuff, and when they're told from the character's own perspective, not for nothing, Grunt in the third game was funny. Garrus was funny. Miranda was like that sexy femme fatale. They all had distinct personalities and desires, where Miranda's that femme fatale who's like, yeah, I didn't ask to be like this. I didn't ask to be a spy. My father, he manipulated my genes. He made me perfect. I was designed to be perfect, and it's hard being perfect. And when you see that, if you do her loyalty mission with her sister, you see that Miranda actually does care about her. She cares about something. She wants a family. You can tell that she wanted a normal life, but she is proud of her accomplishments. But also, you can tell that she feels as though those accomplishments aren't really hers. You know, and there's so much that you can discover. Like even Garrus in the first game, he was sick of C-Sex shit and red tape, and he was a naive I guess cop who wanted to, you know, go outside the system and make his own justice, which he does in the second game. He becomes the renegade archangel who hunts those gang members and whatnot. So, like, you know, the fact that I'm talking in circles about these characters means I have a lot to say. And I want to find somebody else who has a lot to say about GreedFall's characters, because there's really nothing to tell. You don't learn about them. They're not funny. You don't know about their past or what Siora, or ask, like, if we could ask Siora, what was it like growing up on the island? Like, what was your life like before these assholes came and started killing your people? Or you ask, what's his name, the Tali guy? If you know, that old guy. If you ask him, hey, you know, what is your faith belief? What do you believe? How do you interpret your faith? Because he seems more open-minded, but again, they're just cardboard cutouts. And I want to know what you guys think, if you guys agree with me on this, or if you don't. Because, you know, like, I've always been passionate about storytelling and analyzing it, and basically trying to figure out why I like what I like. Everybody loved Garrus, everybody liked Grunt, and I know the team is small, I know they had a smaller budget, but if they want to continue down this path, they need to really rein in the writing. Not rein it in as in like it's bad, but just improve upon it in order to get a real hot seller. Yeah, so they need a way better writing team, and they need to think about how they implement their characters into the story next time, in their next go around. But I hope they do GreedFall 2. I had a game-breaking bug and I couldn't finish it, but I do hope they continue down this path. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the characters. What was your favorite Mass Effect character? How do you think they could have improved on GreedFall's companions or other aspects? I just want to know. So yeah, so feel free to leave a comment. I'm gonna end the video here. I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts out there, and maybe I'll elaborate in more detail. Just my random whatever. So hopefully, you know, you guys enjoyed the video. By the way, this game is Extreme Exorcism. I'd recommend getting it. It's really fun game, as you can see. Anyway, peace out, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.